Do you remember when the world was destroyed? On the broken battlefields of a world long dead, two factions fight for what remains of the future. This is the Dryad-Eldritch War. Hey, quick heads up. This talk is just going to be about the setup for the Dryad-Eldritch War series, so that you can set up a game like this yourself. If you want to see some battles, jump ahead to the next video. I won't get mad. Hello, I'm Ace the Supervillain. In this video, I'm going to explain the setup and thought process behind my Dryad-Eldritch War skirmish series. I'm going to go over the rules and resources and give you some pointers on setting up a game like this yourself. So first of all, I've been fascinated by skirmish games for a while. I'm a longtime fan of RPGs and strategy games, and I feel like skirmish games really distill everything that I love from those games and cuts out all the excess. If you don't know what a skirmish game is, it's basically a combat strategy game played on an individual level, as in the game pieces represent individual people rather than armies or squadrons as they would in a war game. Skirmish games are traditionally tabletop games played with miniatures and terrain pieces, but that can get very expensive and time-consuming to put together. Lately, I've been thinking about doing a skirmish game completely on the computer, and I wanted to share my thought process so that maybe you can try this yourself at home. Before you start playing a skirmish game, you need to grab yourself a set of skirmish rules. A great place to find skirmish rules is the Free Wargaming Rules Wiki. There's over 1,900 pages on this wiki, and it's been going since 1997, so there are a lot of rules you can pick from. For the Dryad-Eldritch War, which will be my first YouTube skirmish game, I've decided to go with John David Slor's One-Page Fantasy Rules. I played with these skirmish rules a few times, I'm familiar with it, and I know I enjoy it. I definitely recommend looking over these rules yourself so that you can follow along with the combat videos. It's just a single page, so it's a quick read, and I'm going to try and edit out most of the technical stuff from the actual combat videos. Once I've completed the series, I'd like to do a full review, but for now I will give you a quick first-glance review of John David Slor's One-Page Fantasy Skirmish rules. Now, I have played with these rules before, but I've never played with the campaign rules, and I'm excited to give that a shot. In fact, I'm really impressed that such a simple rule set even comes with campaign rules. So obviously the main attraction of a one-page skirmish rule set is that it's going to be fast and simple. You don't need to spend a whole lot of time memorizing things or plumbing through lists of lists to make all your skirmish teams. And nothing feels too simple either. It doesn't feel like anything important is left out, and though, of course, that is a matter of opinion. I think that the hero and wizard system gives it just enough of a fantasy feel. If you know those sword and sorcery fantasy settings where only a few special characters have access to magic spells or magic items, that's pretty much the level of magic that this rule set provides. There are no hit points or wound counters in this rule set. Any successful hit is a KO. Now that might be strange to some gaming backgrounds, but it's common enough for skirmish games, and it makes the game go so much faster. Like most skirmish games, the one-page fantasy skirmish rules are meant to be played against another player, but unfortunately I don't have anyone around to play against. So for the Eldritch Dryad Wars series, I'm going to be playing both sides of the battle. Let's talk about the character graphics I'm going to be playing with. I've decided on the Akashic's Librarium, a phenomenal collection of RPG-style monsters designed for RPG Maker MV's side view battle system. I really love this collection. It's got a really attractive and charming cartoony look, very creative monster ideas, and there are just so many of them. The free collection has over 800 battler sprites, and new collections are available through Akashic's Patreon, Gumroad, and main page. The bulk of the librarium is fantasy, but if you're doing a soft sci-fi game, there are a few robotic, clockwork, and alien-looking creatures in the collection. There are also several humanoid characters like knights, elves, dwarves, pirates, etc. I absolutely recommend this collection. So I've got the graphics, I've got the rules, let's get into the team building. For the Dryad-Eldritch War, I've obviously decided to build teams out of Dryads and Eldritch Abominations. In this rule set, you build models based on points, and to keep things simple and balanced, I decided to use consistent point totals for both teams. According to the rules, each team gets 2 special units, a hero who rolls a magic item, and a wizard who rolls 2 magic spells. I've also added an extra special unit for my teams, which I call the Dragon. Only the Dragon gets to have the maximum score in all abilities, and my rule is that the Dragon is not allowed to be the team's hero or wizard. Technically, there aren't any guidelines in the rules about how you divide your points between characters. You're just supposed to pick totals that feel right for the models you're playing with. But when you're playing on the computer or with paper minis, it's very tempting to just build teams with a bunch of maxed out characters, so I've decided to force a standardized point build for this game. Each team gets 1 dragon for 45 points. Since this is the maximum points, the dragons for each team will be identical. The hero and wizard units can be 30 points apiece. Then each team gets 2 pairs of infantry units for 20 points apiece. For these teams, I've got 1 pair of melee-oriented infantry and 1 pair of ranged infantry. Finally, each team gets 8 pawns, which are only 10 points apiece. Let's take a deeper look. Team Dryad's dragon is the continental turtle Ruka, like I said, maximum points in all abilities. The Dryad hero is the Knight of Yggdrasil. She's got max stats in every ability except for shooting, and that actually wasn't enough to add up to the full 30 points, so I decided to give her the Mighty Power as well. Mighty Power is supposed to be for larger models, but I figured since she's a hero, it could stand in for a magic sword or super strength instead. Team Dryad's wizard is Dryad-Eldritch, who I decided to make a melee-heavy magic user just because I can. Dryad-Eldritch has 2 melee attacks, 1 for each fist, which you can do by paying for the melee stat twice. The Dryad's infantry units are the Dryad Archer, which has a very strong shooting stat, and the Dryad Warrior, who also gets a double melee attack. The Dryad's pawn unit is the Treeling, which focuses its points on armor. In general, Team Dryad's units have lower speed and more armor. For Team Eldritch, their dragon is Grand Sorceress Duessa. And you're probably thinking, wait, that's not a dragon, that's a person. Yeah, it's okay. The dragon doesn't have to be an actual dragon, it just has to be someone big and scary. Team Eldritch's hero is the Eldritch Ultimate, who is pretty slow on his feet, which he doesn't have anyway, and gets 2 max power melee attacks instead. The Eldritch Wizard is the Vermilion Slime, who focuses on speed and power with a little left over for offense. He's meant to be more of a slippery spellcaster type. Eldritch Infantry consists of the Eldritch Hound, a high-speed, powerful melee unit with medium armor, and the Gazer, a decent shooter with great mobility. Team Eldritch's pawn unit is the Slime, which sacrifices any armor for a pretty decent attack and movement score for a pawn. Well, I think that's it for setup. Let's get on with the battle in the next video.